This is a short bite episode of Homeschool Together. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together Short Bite Edition. We're going to be reviewing a game that we were sent.
Yeah,
Full disclosure that we were sent this game.
Yeah, but we were super excited to get it.
It is called Mathery Multiply, and the lovely lady is Christine. And
yes.
we want to thank her very much for sending it to us.
Yes,
and
it's from Wellesley & Co. And she was just such a delight to work with. She sent this to us to check out. It's a cross between multiplication table and sequence.
So if you know
we love sequence.
So just a quick review about sequence. Remember, it's a bunch of cards, and there's different versions of it, but the adult version is a 52 card deck. And they have all the cards listed in like sort of a grid-like format, similar to like bingo. Mm-hmm. And you're drawing cards and you're playing cards and you're trying to, connect four. It's sort of like a connect.
You're trying to put down chips in a row.
Diagonally, vertically, side by side. You can imagine the exact same scenario, but with your multiplication tables. And so you have factors in the center of the board, kind of in these beautiful colored round circles of all the various factors from 1 times 1 all the way up to 12 times 12. And they are color-coded based on the probability of those numbers coming up. And she has a number of modifications to the game. And I think, how many dice are there? 6?
Yeah,
there's
5 dice.
5 dice.
So there's multiple ways to play, but the basic way, the main way to play, this is 2 to 4 players. So you would roll all 5 dice, and then you look at the product of any 2 dice, and you put your chip on that. So the reason for the colored square or colored circles that are different probabilities is so that you know, oh, I should probably take one that's more rare if I get it, so that I can, you're trying to get 4 in a row, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. But we played 5, and that was actually quite challenging as adults.
Yeah.
So you can take down the number of dice. You can start from 2 dice and work your way up. So really great. Like doing 5 dice, you have to make 5 different multiplication products.
Inside your head, and then you have to find those numbers on the board.
Yeah, inside your head, and then find the numbers and think about it. So it was terrific multiplication practice.
Yeah, a lot of brain work in this one. If you've got a young student, obviously this is not for very early learners. This is definitely for a student. What's the age range? I think it's above 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, that type of thing, where they're just starting to learn their multiplication tables. But obviously it can stretch up, into.
I mean, I as an adult, I enjoyed playing this. I was like, okay, wait a minute, 11 times. Okay. I was trying to, definitely we were helping each other a little bit with it. One of the things I really like about this is that it does have multiple modes to play. So there's 2 to 4 players. So there's either 2 player directly or 4 player if you do teams. And then there's a 1 player variant there's both a timed one and a scored version. She's got a couple of others. There's a 2 to 4 player competitive scoring version where you're trying to be the first team to get to 500 points.
Yeah, if you can think like a Zeus on a loose type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it actually, so that's cool because that benefits higher products, which are more difficult to do.
In your head.
So so you're benefiting on that. Then there's also a speed play where 2 players are rolling 2 dice each, trying to do the products as quick as they can and then place their chips to get their 4 in a row. And then there's a cooperative play where you're trying to get 9. So there's just so many different ways to play. If you have a kid that's struggling with multiplication, this is perfect. There aren't very many multiplication games on the market. First of all, there's tons of addition and subtraction stuff, but there really isn't a lot for this, which is when we talked to the creator, she said that she was working with her own child, and there just were so few multiplication games on the market that she actually decided to create this one herself. Yeah,
you can always remember if you remember back to when you were doing your multiplication tables, you're just cranking through example problems. Oh, here's the 50 example problems you have to do.
Yeah, so
and it
boring.
can become very mundane, and you get kind of lost, and you end up making mistakes. And this is also useful for any student who's getting into higher level algebra, like in algebra 2. Or if you're getting into where you have to start doing some factoring, any type of FOIL method. If you have a student who's struggling a little bit with learning their FOIL method with products, those are can be sticking points, especially when you start throwing in variables into your equations. They can forget their multiplication tables.
Because you're going backwards in that way, right?
Yeah.
You're taking a number and then you have to break it out into its parts. So having not just, okay, well, I know that 11 times 6 is 66, but having 66 in your head and knowing all the ways it would break apart.
Yeah, like 33 times 2, right? You
right,
can do
all the
that
different
as well.
things.
Yeah. And so having that ability to crunch those factors very fast is a great skill, and doing it in a speed manner with the dice, I thought was really nice. And plus you get 5 12-sided dice.
Yeah.
How useful is that?
Yeah,
in a
these
lot
are
of other
really good
things
quality,
too. Yeah.
and then good quality small clear circle tokens for the spaces, which I thought was really cool. So I think that this is great, especially if you have any kid who's struggling, like you say, with multiplication. It's just a big worksheet full of problems, and they just crank through 50 problems, and it's the most boring way to practice multiplication.
If you got a student who's doing this and you're about to drop, for 3 or 4 tutoring lessons, you can go for two tutoring lessons and go ahead and get this game and play the game with your student and see if you can spark that interest in the multiplication table. She gives you also a chart to, show the multiplication table. So if they forget one, they can obviously reference the chart. Very helpful. I think we've talked with her a little bit about maybe developing some new things in the future with the game.
Yeah, I think she's really excited. This game right now is something that's being self-published and that she's looking to expand and grow. So
this really feels it's a game, but we also said it's more of like a learning tool as opposed to. Like it's a game, but it's also
but it's also manipulative because it has all of these dice in it, and there's a lot of things that you could do with 12-sided dice. So I felt like, this was a game, but also a math manipulative both. I think it's terrific.
I love how you can scale the difficulty too, like what we said earlier with the 2 dice. You can really take the urgency of the game down by going down in the dice, and you can really have fun with your learner. You can even bring in, little people, or you can bring in like, Lego characters and stuff. And you can really have like a good imaginative play with it. Great little board, great little game, nice little dice. We really had fun. We actually, Ariel and I ended up playing it for about 20, 30 minutes. We were like trying all these different ways to play. And, us being STEM people, we were very much into it because you're right. We have not seen a multiplication game. Most games stick with math and addition, and that is basically their bread and butter right there.
The only time I've ever really seen multiplication used in a game, like King Domino is a good example.
But also Lost Cities does a little bit of a
Right,
multiplication.
there's a little bit of multiplication, but Lost Cities has got a little bit higher numbers. But for like King Domino, it's usually you're dealing with, 6 or 7, maybe at most. With 12-sided die, you
get up to 12s and 12s.
We were getting into some ones where I was like, okay, 12 times 5.
12 times 11, 11 times 10.
Those
11
real
times
high
11.
ones. I had to struggle a sec.
Is it 132 or is it 121? You start thinking about it.
Yeah. So I thought that was great because I haven't seen any multiplication. I've only seen lower level multiplication used as a standard in other games.
And Lost Cities does lower level because they have the 1, 2, and 3 scalar multipliers on top of the number. So you'll have a larger number, but with the multiplier being lower.
Right.
Yeah. But this was nice how you got the higher factor on this. It's really I enjoyed it. I thought it was a win for us.
Yeah, it was a clever way to teach multiplication tables. I think that if you have any student who's going to be learning that, there's lots of folks who would say, don't have your kids memorize multiplication tables. They need to be able to figure it out. And it's like, I believe in memorizing multiplication tables. I think it's a good way to go because, as you say, we've been through quite a bit of math. Matt has half a master's degree in math. I've been through 4 levels of college math to get my engineering degree. If I did not have my multiplication tables memorized, I would have been in trouble for all that upper level math.
It's a very similar debate with the phonics versus the sight words, right? So when you're first learning to read, you're doing a lot of phonetics. But when you're an adult, you're just doing flat out sight words. But when you hit a word you don't know, you sound it out. It's very similar to this. Like at first you have to crunch through your multiplication, you have to learn how to do it and everything. But once you've memorized it, you should be able to just jam it out. And this is, I think, that kind of game that will get you to jam it out. Like you're starting to memorize it, and you're starting to hit those numbers. You work it fast. And being able to work things fast correctly gives you an enormous amount of confidence. I can't tell you how many people I have tutored at the algebra 2, pre-calculus, calculus level, that when they just struggle with the basic math, and they're already into this more complex, abstract level of thinking. I mean, algebra 2 is not, I don't think it's very hard, but if you're lacking adding negative numbers, or you're lacking your basic multiplication tables, you're already a step behind.
Right.
And these are these base level, ground level things that you need to have mastery of before you can really feel like you have the confidence to do that. Because when you get into you work with a student who, you're asking them to factor out an equation, and they're struggling not just with the abstract idea of doing FOIL or something of that nature, but they're also struggling with their multiplication, and they're also struggling with their addition. You're already 2 or 3 steps behind. Like, how do you teach them the nuance of seeing the right answer when they're struggling with the basics? And these type of games like Mathery and mastering your addition and subtraction, mastering your addition and subtraction of negative numbers, and the multiplication, and then on top of that, multiplication of negative numbers. All of that builds on itself, and it's so important to get these base skills right, especially when you're starting to get into those, late elementary, early middle school, and into the high school level. These are the type of games that if your kid is struggling and they're not really good at sitting down doing 500 math questions. I liked doing that when I was younger, but that was just because I'm weird and I like math. But
You're weird.
I'm weird. Yeah, I know. I'm a weird one. But a game like this, I would have played in a heartbeat.
Well,
in high school.
You enjoyed playing it. Now
I
you love
enjoy
math games,
and I love playing with numbers. I love thinking about numbers. That maybe because I like physics and math and all that. That was the track I took. But this is a type of game that I think even somebody who's struggling with math can actually start to have a little bit of fun with it, because anytime you can bring the fun into things, I really think it gets you past those things, especially when we're talking about getting kids into STEM, getting kids into math, upping your math numbers, getting over there's a lot of issues with math for a lot of people. And there's a lot of people talking about how math, the way it's taught, can keep some people from excelling in it. Yeah. And we want to make sure that these kids, they don't feel that negativity in these type of subjects. I think games like this is a perfect way to get around that. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Highly recommended from us, Mathery Multiply. So definitely check out the link in the show notes, because this is a really, really great game. And thank you so much to Wellesley & Co. for sending it to us. Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook, and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
happy homeschooling!